Hi, and welcome back to Silas 13.5. Today I have a story to tell. It is from a man's standpoint of view, or perspective, or whatever. But as you can tell, I'm not a man, but I'm still going to read this story. Imagine standing in a courtroom, hearing the words, "life without parole." For that person, every dream, every plan, every hope for the future dies in that instant. They believe they will never walk free again. Never again share a meal with family. Never again feel the rain on their faces without prison bars. Now, imagine many years later, against all odds, they are told, "You are going home." The flood of emotion in that moment is indescribable. Joy, disbelief, tears, fear, and excitement all tangled together. Life once taken is suddenly handed back. But here's the truth. Release is the only first step. Freedom is not automatic. Belonging is not automatic. Hope has to be rebuilt, and that's where we come in. When we walk alongside someone returning from prison, returning home, we don't just witness change, we become part of it. We get to see the first time they sit down at a family dinner, the first time they swipe a bus card or cash a paycheck, the first time they realize, "I have a future again." Being part of reentry is being part of resurrection, of life, of dignity, of possibilities. It's saying to someone who once believed they were forgotten, "You matter, you belong, you are not alone." And the miracle is, in helping them rebuild, we are changed too. We discover hope is contagious. We see resilience up close. We remember that no one is beyond redemption. So, the invitation is this. Come and be part of this joy. Be a part of the miracle. Be a part of turning hopelessness into a future. Because when who once thought they would die in prison, walks free and thrives. It's not just their victories, it's their redemption. It's ours too. What the South Carolina Department of Corrections is instructed not to tell you. The fact that many of us have done a lot of interpersonal work, spiritual growth, and have matured as people in prison will never make it or be allowed to make the news. No one will ever really know these stories because the Department of Corrections actively blocks these stories from getting out. If positive stories about incarcerated individuals makes it out, the DOC will show only our backs, blur our faces, hold back our names, because they say they want to protect the victims for whatever reason they dream up. Just recently, we had an officer, a member of the security staff, to tell us that if we asked another man to respect our house rules, to not be disrespectful while he is conducting official business in our unit, that he may be in his rights to hit you in your face. My question is, Will we be afforded the same rights to defend myself? Somewhere along the way, I decided that I will no longer allow myself to be a victim of my past, nor of the situation of my present. My past and those people of my presence no longer have the authority. I am a proud South Carolinian, and South Carolinians are not victims or cowards, except maybe certain politicians. They seem to love to stir up fear and play everyone against each other while trying to sabotage each other. Do they really represent a proper South Carolinian? This message is for the political and the mainstream media that perpetrate this system of victimhood and fear-mongering. Be warned. Stop the bullshit. You are not going to continue to come up with new crimes to inflict new punishment on me. I have already been sentenced to my punishment, and anything new that you have created since to inflict on me. Since then, violations, my ex post facto rights. That's right. The United States and the states of South Carolina have constitutions, and they both afford even people like me rights that you all have sworn to uphold and defend, though you seem to have forgotten. Now I'm coming after you in the courts, and I'm going to actively promote critical thinking when it comes to who South Carolinians choose to represent them from now on. I was content to serve my life sentence without parole and fade into oblivion back here, but you and your Department of Corrections kept picking at me without cause. You have taken my visitations rights and locked me in my cell for no other reason than some so-called disruption schedule. You have taken my canteen privileges because someone else was caught with contraband or didn't turn their sheets for laundry. Your mass punishment has to stop. Mass punishment and mandatory minimum sentences are lazy and beneath the people of South Carolina. You have punished me for things I have had nothing to do with, and you have appointed the worst possible individuals as wardens, associate wardens, and guardians to watch over your correctional system. Never mind the neurotic director that just moved to another job. Every other word out of his mouth was contraband cell phones. Though I agree that they can be a problem, cell phones in prison are not by any stretch the problem. Our approach to the Department of Correction and the correctional system in the state of South Carolina has copied many rules and concepts from the 1930s and 40s Germanic work camps. The spirit is the same. This is the true reason that certain individuals are pushing to get the contraband cell phones out of the prison system. It's not because of their criminal enterprises that stem from back here. You have individuals out there that are doing far more harm with their legal cell phones than any incarcerated person will ever do. The agenda is being pushed because the administration doesn't want their corruption to be posted all over Facebook or TikTok, and even on the evening news. Because someone wants to monopolize their communications investigations systems in the DOC. How many administrative and security staff do you think could stand up to polygraph tests? Either because of what they are doing themselves or what they know. Contraband is still coming over the $8 million dollar plus state-funded netting system, but far more is coming in through other ways. They can try to deflect by saying that some of it is coming in through the visitation rooms. I'll grant you that. There are enough staff and inmates working in the visitation rooms across the state willing and able to help orchestrate such an enterprise. However, I'm willing to wager that with the severe limitations and burdens placed on our visits since the pandemic, that is not very much. Ask anyone that has attempted to come in and see their loved ones in prison over the last few years, what they have had to go through to get scheduled and to get in. I'm still waiting. It's been 3 months, I think, if I'm not mistaken. When a politician promises to fix a problem and doesn't even bother to address the issue at all during their term, why would we vote them back into office when they again promise to fix the same problem, let alone another problem? How many times will we be lied to and fall for the same lies? Governor Hodges, for example, promised to do sentencing and corrections reform right on the heels of Baisley administration. The people voted him into office, a Democrat promising corrections reform, be a Republican incumbent governor. Bottom line is Hodges misled, lied to the people, though he was beat by Governor Sanford in the next election. It still shows that the people in South Carolina, even then, had the stomach for corrections reform. It's the politicians that don't want the reform because they are concerned about how it will make them look and how it will affect their status or power. The politicians are the only cowards we have in this state. They don't enact legislation to help us and our families out in any serious conviction. They believe that tough on crime policies are the right thing. Most of them believe that it is past time to move in a new and better direction. They are scared and only concerned with how it will make them look. They care more about their image, their livelihood, and the power that comes from their various offices than they do about the people they represent. Murder for hire is illegal in the states, but state-sanctioned homicide was passed recently to allow South Carolina to use the firing squad as a new form of execution, along with making electrocution the default form of execution if the firing squad or lethal injections are not available. You are paying for these killings through your hard-earned tax dollars. This legislator passed this bill in order to fulfill obligations to victim families. Senators Humphrey and Hart-Putlin, I think I tried saying that correctly, spoke about why this passage was necessary. Evil plus evil equals good. I'm convinced. The craziest thing about this is that state employees, SCDC employees, volunteer to kill the person condemned to die. Guess it's a perk of the job. This death penalty bill was introduced in the same session as another bill to abolish the death penalty. The firing squad bill passed quickly. I remember watching those mornings when they went into their daily sessions. It began with the chaplain giving the invocation. It went something along the lines of, "Bless us in these proceedings." And I think there may have been something to the effect of, "Forgive us of our sins." And then they proceeded to enact Senate Bill 200, the firing squad bill. I like to think that I've learned my lesson, and I have. But when I'm told that killing is bad, it is reinforced by rule number 6, thou shalt not kill. Who cares what God has to say about it anyway? They don't. This was a bill that they could get behind. Most other issues, they use stall tactics and waste so much time that they don't have time left. I lost my spot. Left to work on issues of any real importance. Just look at the transcripts of any day of any session. They will introduce people until your nose bleeds. I'm only asking this. Look at the person I and many others like me have become over the years. Have a look at the people Have a look at the people sitting in Columbia at the various other representative offices. Think about the changes you feel are necessary. Speak about them and then do something about them. It only takes one enactment of a bill to pass into law, and the thing you have been doing or saying for your whole life now has you labeled also. Did you know that inmates in South Carolina are not allowed to contact the media or to reach out to politicians without permission and being scripted? It's a policy that you can look up on the SCDC website. What's up with that? Yeah. That was a nice little story that I got in and felt like needed to share with you guys. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Silas 13.5. I will be having another one come up in just a few minutes. Might be a little more than a few minutes. But I will have that coming up here soon. Thank y'all, and until next time, this is Ashley.